सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्या सम्प्रदायकर्तृभ्यो वंशऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। सर्वोपप्लवरहितः प्रज्ञानघनः प्रत्यगर्थो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। We'll just chant mantra number 15. हिरण्मयेन पात्रेण सर्वस्यापि हितं मुखम् तत्त्वं पूषन्न पावृणु सत्यधर्माय द्रष्टये। हिरण्मयेन पात्रेण सत्यस्यापि हितं मुखम् हिरण्मयेन पात्रेण सत्यस्यापि हितं मुखम् तत्त्वं पूषन्न पावृणु सत्यधर्माय द्रष्टये। तत्त्वं पूषन्न पावृणु सत्यधर्माय द्रष्टये। Just to recollect the overview of what all has gone by. First of all, this is a prayer by a person who has performed all the actions, all enjoined actions, to be done actions, duty-bound actions enjoined by the Shastra. And the one who has done certain upasanas, in loose translation, certain meditations. Which type of meditation? Enjoined by Shastra. That person at the time of death is making a prayer. Now, Shastra talks about these karmas, varieties of karma, the karmas that can give one manushi vittam and a daiva vittam. can give you the wealth. Manusha Vittam means wealth here of this loka, this life, and can give wealth. Daivi Vittam, wealth is to be for other lokas, life hereafter. Manusha Vittam is money, power, land, etc. Gold, these are all Manusha Vittam, by which you can buy, buying power here. Daiva Vittam is Punya Karma, good deeds. Those karma phalas which take you to certain lokas, and which lokas they can take you? Lokas which can give one pleasure, sensual pleasure. And we have talked about it. The lokas where the sense objects become subtler and subtler, and sense organs also become more subtler and capable, and the whole ambience, the infrastructure also is more provocative or more conducive to enjoy those pleasures. This is a phalam of various karmas. And Shastra talked about certain upasanas. You know, that upasanas take one to different lokas. Up to which loka you can say Prakriti Laya, or you can say Brahma Loka ultimately. But then all these two things, Shastra is a pramanam to talk about Gati and Agati, for going and returning. The phala, karma phalas, the movement of the jiva, the travel of the individual here and hereafter, Shastra is a praman. Now for moksha, three things are talked about as far as I know in the Shastra. One, the person who has performed his or her duties. One who is a giver, or Puja Swamiji's language, one who is a contributor. All the time contributing this, what is to be done, and lives a prayerful life, performs upasanas, thereby he or she gains when antahkarana becomes shuddham, it gives a clarity as to what am I doing and why am I doing. That thought leads to vairagya, and vairagya leads to moksha. Because of certain karmas, which only God knows, the quantity and the type. Therefore, we say Ishwar Krupa. One has some dispassion, and dispassion may be there, but at the same time, there is a desire for moksha. Whatever idea he or she may have regarding moksha, but wants to gain moksha, that person turns around from the pursuits of dharma, artha, kama to pursuit of moksha. And again, if there is a sufficient punya, he or she may get a right teacher. And again, there is sufficient punya. Having gotten the right teacher, he or she studies from a teacher. Again, there is some punya. Then only he or she attends classes consistently, not with the breaks. And again, if there is some punya, he or she does Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasanam, and owns up the wisdom, owns up the knowledge. That person is Jivan Mukta, liberated even while living here now and here. Because that moksha is you. Please listen this carefully. Moksha is you, not something to be gained. It is your swarupa. You need to own it up that aham nitya mukta. I am ever free. I was never bound and I will never be bound. That moksha is owned up by knowledge, and therefore it is said, Nanad evatu kaivalya. By knowledge alone, one gains moksha. So that person who gains the knowledge, owns up the wisdom that Aham Brahmasmi, becomes free right now and here. As they call it, Sadhyo Mukti, immediate. There is a mention in the Shastra also, Nachiketa, etc. So that is one. Now there are Shastra, there's a, as mentioned, that one can gain moksha also through karma and upasana samuchaya. Gnana karma upasana or gnana karma samuchaya or upasana karma samuchaya, performing them both, doing the duties, what is to be done, he or she performs karmas and does upasanas. And not only Devta upasana, Sambhuti and Asambhuti upasana, about which we have seen in detail. By those upasanas and karma, one gains Brahmaloka. And at the time of Pralaya of Brahmaloka, Brahmaji, then Pralaya Kalaha, that person gains Sarvatma Bhava. That knowledge, he owns up the knowledge that I am this, and therefore he becomes mukta. It is mentioned that having gone to Brahmaloka, Brahmaloka means ultimate field of experience. There also Brahmaji is teaching. One has to attend classes there also, and there it is not online class, it's a physical class. So you can sit in the online class, and that too Brahmaji is taking, not local Paramatma. Here you can sit with a cup of coffee with you and then maybe just not taken shower and things like that. There you have to sit properly and attend the classes. And when the pralaya comes, that time this fellow prays that Brahma's pralaya kalaha. When it is there is a prayer for this jivatma for moksha. Owning up, may I own up the knowledge which I gained from Brahmaji, and may I be free. It's a prayer. Okay? So it is better, rather than going up to Brahmaji and doing all efforts, and then again you have to study same Ishavasyam over there. Then better study here and go. Why study there? And better get free here itself. Anyway, coming back to this, so that kala, the jiva is seeking the grace for moksha, marga yachana. Though moksha is gaining moksha is not a path. It is certainly not a path, because path comes only when you have to travel. It is owning up yourself. Okay? People often tell this, which is very popular argument in Neo-Vedanta teachers, and especially teachers of the West. There are 4 paths. There is one is a Bhakti Marga, one is Karma Marga, third one is Yoga Marga, Raj Yoga Marga, and Gnana Marga. Knowledge is not a path. Moksha is you, I told you. To gain moksha, one jiva has not to travel. But then since 3 are path, this is also called path, as though. You have to know. Even if you say, one should know that it is as though a path. Not really I'm going to travel anything. And the prayer is made because the individual, there are certain finer obstacles in his life. And those finer obstacles doesn't let him own up the knowledge. And therefore there is a prayer. Please help me, Lord. That the prayer is made out of sense of helplessness. I'm helpless to myself. Please remove those obstacles and help me to gain the Swarupa that is myself. Okay? So, this is the prayer of that seeker for moksha, which will be more clearer in the next verse. There's a prayer of not going anywhere, though there is a marga yachana, but then it is not going anywhere. And prayer is looks like to Surya, Pushan. Pushan means one who nourishes all. The nourishment is twofold. One who sustains all. Sustenance is at both the level. That 15th chapter, Gama Vishyacha Bhutani Dharayami Hojasa Pushnami Chaushati Sarva Somo Bhutva Rasatmaka Yadanitya Tejo Yat Chandramasi Chagno Tat Vidhi Mamakam Ushnami Chausadi Sarva Somo Bhutva Rasatmaka Ham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashrita Pranapana Samayukta Pachamyannam Chakra. So from earth onwards, sun and moon onwards, that nourishes, sustains them as they are, gives them strength, gives them power, energy to do what they are supposed to do. That is Pushan, Poshayati iti Pushan. And another nourishment is that I sustain them as a substrate. Like the wood sustains the table and the chair. How? Because it is the very Satta Spurti Pradhat. Not giving a power and a strength to do what is to be done, for it to be there as it is, to exist as it is. Existence, Satchidananda Swarupena, Satta Spurti Pradhanena, it is sustaining. So, both ways, when you take the first meaning, the one who nourishes and sustains, in a sense of giving them necessary strength to do what they are supposed to do or what they are meant to do, and as the very substratum. So it becomes a saguna when the first meaning, second meaning is nirguna Brahma. So, and the sun, Pushan means, English simple translation is sun. But then, if you know the Sanskrit and translate it etymologically, it means these both. Pushan. Pushan means Poshayati Sarvam iti Pushan. Dharayati Sarvam iti Pushan. One who nourishes everything and one who sustains, one who beholds them to be what it is. That is Pushan. No? So, Surya is a symbol of Saguna as well as Nirguna Brahma. There is a Vakya also in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Tad yat tat satyam. This is the truth. Asau saha aditya. This, that sun. Ya esha etasmin mandale purushaha. And that there is a Purusha. Yadaditya gatam tejo jagat bhasa. That's Purusha. Yashayam dakshine akshan Purusha. That here the individual in this jiva and that Purusha. What is etadubhayam satyam? Both are one. So, therefore, there is a prayer to Paramatma for knowing the yathartha swarupam of myself. And we say, Hiranmayena patrena satyasya mukham apishitam. This vessel generally is used to hold something. And by vessel, you cover also something. Both the things, suppose you have a ball, you use it to hold some dry fruits or chocolates or whatever. And sometimes you cover something with the ball also. So that, and it is Hiranyamaya. Hiranya means golden. As I said last time, gold is a metal which never gives up the shine, one thing. And other metals melt very easily in fire, not gold. It doesn't break also. Suppose your bangle or some ring falls down. If it is a glass or plastic ring, it may break, but not the golden ring. Very lasting. And at the same time, it can take on to weather. As I said, weather doesn't impact, weather changes. And it can take on to fire also. It can take on to water also. It can take on to earth also. Even if, because you work in the land, some farmers, the lady farmers, work in the land, but the gold doesn't get lost or some dirt or nothing. It's just as it is. So very solid and strong. And it protects also, and it is used to hold and drink something. So Hiranmaya Patra is Ahankara. Ahankara holds what? Your likes and dislikes. What? Your memory and knowledge. What? Your prejudices and all those things. They are held by Ahankara. Holds on very strongly. And Ahankara is something generally it doesn't break. People have so much of problem to say sorry. It was my mistake. And even if you just remind somebody, didn't I tell you last time you did the same thing? Don't keep reminding me what I did. It's okay. They don't want to accept that's Ahankara. And it covers the very self, as though. Ahankara, we have discussed earlier also, cannot cover this Atma. It is like saying the snake covers the rope. The covering of the snake is not real. Snake really doesn't or cannot cover the rope because snake itself really don't exist. And I'm talking of not real snake. I'm talking of rope snake. When the rope snake itself really don't exist, how can it cover the rope which is relatively real in terms of Vyavara? It can never cover the rope. But therefore, since the snake is as though, therefore you have to say snake as though covers the rope. So also this Ahankara is nothing but superimposition on the self. It is adhyastaha on the self. Its very existence and sentiency is borrowed from the self. And therefore, it cannot cover the self. Because it is as though. So the covering of the self by Ahankara is also as though. And they say, how? As though means how? There is a beautiful example. Earlier also, while talking about Panchakoshas, I had told, I would like to quote a verse from Hastamalaka Stotra. Shankaracharya ji had, you might have seen that picture with 4 prominent disciples. One of them was Hastamalakam. His name was Hastamalakam because he could see the things as though he is seeing in the hand, like seeing the amalaka fruit in the hand, he could see the truth. There he writes a very beautiful verse that is there. It says, Ganachanna drashtihi ganachanna markam Yatha nishprabham manyate chati mudha तथा बद्ध भाति मूद दृष्टे सनित्योपलब्धि स्वरूपो हमात्मा घनच्छन्न दृष्टि घनच्छन्न मर्कम मन्यते चाति मूढ़ः यथा निष्प्रभम मन्यते चाति मूढ़ः. A deluded one thinks there is sun is dull and I don't see the sun today. Who is there and takes that sun is covered, takes two error that sun is dull, sunlight is dull, and I don't see the sun. Sun is covered. Who? Ganachanna drashtihi ganachanna markam manyate. Gana means cloud. Channa means covered. Ganachanna drashtihi. One whose vision is covered. He thinks ganachanna markam. He thinks arkam means sun. Surya. The one whose vision is covered by the cloud thinks that the sun is covered. Ganachanna drashtihi ganachanna markam yatha nishprabham manyate chati mudaha. Just as a deluded ati mudaha. Just as a deluded yatha ati mudaha. Arkam ganachannam nishprabham manyate. He considers or thinks the sun as dull and being covered by the cloud. Who is this deluded? The one whose vision is covered. The sun is not covered, your vision is covered. Similarly, he says, Tatha baddhavat bhati moda drashtehe. So also the self is felt to be, is considered to be, is construed to be bound. Tatha baddhavat bhati moda drashte. Again, the deluded one thinks the self is bound. Which self? Which appears to be bound. Why it appears to be bound? Muda drashte. Whose vision is clouded, vision is deluded. So whose buddhi has ahankara. Buddhi has to see. It is the eye that has to see the sun. And the vision of the eye is covered. Similarly, the buddhi that has to see the self, that is covered. And that's like that sun which appears to be covered, like that sun which appears to be dull, like that self, what? Nityopalabdhi swarupo hamatma. When the self, Nityopalabdhi swarupo hamatma, that's the last line he keeps repeating in the whole sutra. I am that self. Nityopalabdhi swarupo hamatma, etc. There's a beautiful story about this Acharya. He was a child, maybe teenage or less, when Shankaracharya ji met him. Shankaracharya ji was traveling, and then the villagers came and they said, look, our son is a dumb guy, cannot speak. And he behaves like a dumb fellow also. There is some mentally challenged child. So you bless him so that at least he speaks, and at least we want him to have at least so simple common sense whereby he can survive on his own. Parents obviously would be concerned. Let him know certain things and so that he can survive. Looking at him, pretends to be dumb. And he conducts, you think he is a dumb, but he is a wise person. And then he asked him, who are you, Kosi? Then he rattled out this stotra, Tamalaga stotra, where 4 quarters are there. Every 4th quarter is Nityopalabdhi Swarupo Hamatma. Saha Nityopalabdhi Swarupo Hamatma. This is one of the verses. I am that self, which looks covered, which looks dull, but I am Upalabdhi means self-shining, self-revealing, self-existing. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, like that. I am that. So, Satyasya Mukham is covered. Hiranmayana Patrena Satyasya. So the ignorance covers the self. Ignorance covers the Srishti also. Because you think the world to be real. And what is the world? Is some Nama Rupa only. The name and forms are taken to be real. Small things become big. And big things become very significant. That's a covering. See, this is what Vedanta we have to learn. Cut the things to size. If somebody has said something hurting to you, don't go on taking a revenge or settling the account. કહું નહીં ત્યાં સુધી મને ચેન ના પડે, મને શાંતિ ના થાય. એમને શાંતિ જ છે, આત્મા શાંત જ સ્વરૂપ છે. છાનો માનો બેહી જાય ને આત્મા શાંતિ થઈ જાય. But they just go on and on for small things. Nityopalabdhi swarupahama. I am that swarupa, upalabdhi swarupa, self-existent self, which is self-evident all the time, nitya, ahamatma. So that ignorance covers not only my swarupa, but makes me to think differently about the world. Not differently, just opposite to what it is. So this ignorance covers the jiva and the jagat. And of course, Ishvara also. Because Ishvara is taken to be different, to be away from me, sitting in somewhere. Whereas in Gita, so many times Bhagavan tells this. You know, aham atmas gudakeshas sarva bhutashasthit. I'm there. Sarvasya chaham radisannivishta. 13th chapter. Kshetragnam chapi mam viddhi sarva kshetreshu bhara. I am you. But somehow he is taken to be there. So, as though covers Ishvara, as though covers Jagat, as though covers self. In other words, it covers my discriminative buddhi. Buddhi stands covered. And because of buddhi's covering, I can't see the self as it is. And therefore he says, Hey Pushan, O Paramatma, O Lord, Tat Tvam apavranu. O Ishvara, may you remove that. May you help me to remove this avarana. In other words, my habitual error. Habitually, I take myself to be physio-psycho-complex. Habitually, I take the world to be the source of sukha and dukkha. Habitually, I take Ishvara to be away and seek some redressal from him, Ishvara, about my pains and my problems and situations. So there is a prayer, Oh Ishvara, give me that. Relieve me from that. Now, listen this. When there can be prayer? Prayer is possible when there is a surrender. Lip service prayer is different. Professional singers also pray. You know, the Bombay has a very different culture. When somebody dies, they call singers and they sing bhajans. And when they sing bhajan, the whole family cries, except the singer. Kanti Bhai, suppose Kanti Bhai was such a good man, and then we'll tell something and sing po 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 po. And people will be so emotionally moved, but he will be in a Sakshi Bhav. He will be thinking only that how much I could invoke the emotions and I could touch their heart so that they may recommend me for some others' prayers, and I can charge the fees more. That's all it is. He's not interested. The prayer comes that is when there is a surrender, and surrender is possible only when you have love or you discover your helplessness. Love takes to surrender. Surrender your likes and dislikes. You surrender even your notions and prejudice if you love the person. Love has that strength. But or you surrender when you discover helplessness. This jiva who have had lived such a disciplined life, performed all actions to be done, that all upasanas, devata upasana, saguna, nirguna, vyakta, avyakta upasana, sambhuti, asambhuti upasana, and finally reached to Brahma Loka. But still that individuality is not gone. Still the sense that I am ruled, I am limited is not gone. And understands also that I am not that, but cannot own up that. And the time has come to give up the body. Therefore discovers I am helpless. I want to achieve this. I want to own up this identity. I want to own up my nature. I am helpless. And therefore there is a surrender. And therefore there is a prayer. Hey Pushan, Vam Apar. Please help me to see it properly. Who are you? He says, Satya Dharmaya Drashtaye. Drashtaye means for me to see. Who am I? Satya Dharma. I have been living a life of truth. Satya Dharma means 2-3 meanings. Satyameva Dharma. Truth alone is my dharma, means my swarupa, my nature. I always lived by truth. Satya also means dharma, duty. Satya Dharmaya means I am the one who had lived a life committed to my duties, my contributory actions. Satya Dharma. And Satya also means the truth. Satya Dharma means there is Satya Nishtha, meaning thereby I have been seeking moksha only. You don't want anything other than moksha. I have been wanting moksha. And that urge is so strong. In spite of my sincere efforts, I could not get it. And now the time has come to depart from this upadhi. Therefore, please bless me. I want only moksha. As we said last time, whatever is your last wish, that becomes destination for the next journey. And that last wish what is that last wish? Last wish is something that you always wish. Like the balance sheet. From 1st April to 31st March. Every day, all transactions should be such that you end up in profit. Then only on 31st March you have profit. Not just by doing some business on last 14 days or 15 days. During this COVID-19 time, all the hoteliers and restaurant owners will never make the profit. Even if the vaccine comes in December or January as it looks like, or the news goes around, and then the things become normal, but that 2 months period will not fetch that much of revenue to cover up for the 10 months. Every day you have to be conscious. So every thought, every action, and every day, I should be conscious as to what I want. Mind should not ask for artha, kama, and dharma. I want moksha only. I want moksha only. That consistent want, that consistently wanting person is I, Satya Dharma. I am that mumukshu. So Bhagavan, please bless me with the vision. Help me with the vision. Means Help me to remove my ignorance. There is a very thin veil of ignorance that's still obstructing my vision, or doesn't let me own up myself. So help me to grow out of it. That's a prayer of a seeker. Continues the prayers in next mantra. This is a different type of vasakas, but same way, by and large, the same thing. He says, look at the mantra. पूषन्ने कर्षे पूषन्ने कर्षे यम सूर्य प्राजापत्य यम सूर्य प्राजापत्य व्यूह रश्मीन् समूह व्यूह रश्मीन् समूह तेजो यत्ते रूपम तेजो यत्ते रूपम कल्याणतमम् कल्याणतमम् तत्ते पश्यामि तत्ते पश्यामि योऽसावसौ पुरुषः योऽसावसौ पुरुषः सोऽहमस्मि सोऽहमस्मि. Again, I'll chant this. पूषन्ने कर्षे यमः सूर्य प्राजापत्य व्यूह रश्मीन् समूह तेजो यत्ते रूपं कल्याणतमम् तेजो यत्ते रूपं कल्याणतमम् तत्ते पश्यामि तत्ते पश्यामि योऽसावसौ पुरुषः योऽसावसौ पुरुषः सोऽहमस्मि सोऽहमस्मि. I had told this that the last moment of this life, what you remember at the end of this life, depends on what you always thought of throughout the life. It is not something that at the end of the life you suddenly will remember the Ishvara. No. What all? Sadat tad bhava bhavita. Always reveling in that bhava will take you to that vastu. Now, here is a prayer. These are all addressed, Sambodhanani, to Surya, to Pushan, to Hiranyagarbha, to Ishvara. He says, He Pushan, He Ekarshe, He Yamaha, He Surya, He Prajapati. All addresses. Rashmin Samu Vyuha. Remove thy rays. Rashmin. Rashmi means rays. Samu, all the rays. Remove the rays. Means, what does it end? Tejasaha. Yatte. Why you want to remove? So that tatte pashyami. So that I can see that. What you want to see? Kalyanatamam rupam te. So that I can see your most benign form, most benevolent form, most auspicious form. I want to see, and therefore, please remove this harsh, scorching, pain, giving pain form, so that I can see your most benign form. And then he says, Yosavasau Purushaha, Sohamasmi. So that I am Purusha. I am that Purusha, which is Asau Purusha. that is there in sun, that is there in you, that is I am. Means you and I are one. We are not separate. I now can see that I am that Purusha, which is your Swarupa. I am that Purusha, which is you, and which is you are the self of you, is also the self of mine. The self of mine is the self of you. Yosavaso Purusha, Sohamasmi. I am that. I am that. So, this devotee addresses the Lord with various names, so many names. That what does it indicate? Two things. It indicates love for it, sort of cajoling, and it also indicates the exigency. I want it. Please give me. Begging, wanting to have that. Hey Pushan, hey Yamaha, hey Surya, etc. Hey Prajapati, etc. Please give me that. Please give me that. What you want, I want to see Kalyanatamam Rupam, that which is most benign Swarupa of yourself. And what is the most benign Swarupa? Satchidananda. That is your ben I want to see. And then, as though he is seeing, he says, I am that Swarupa. I am that Swarupa. Sohamasmi, Sahamasmi. Yaha asau Purushaha, Saha aham asmi. That this is that Purusha. I am that Purusha. He says. Okay. Let us see. No? Aditya is not this sun we are talking. So symbolically, it's a pratika. But then it is Hiranyagarbha. We have seen earlier, Samashti Sukshma Sharira Abhiman. Total knowledge. And therefore there is a prayer. There is a total knowledge and there is a Avantara Pratibandhaka also. There is a prayer for removal of mamakara caused by ahankara, which is again caused by ignorance. The mamakara is so consolidated that he cannot give up that. When it can give up mamakara, then it can give up ahankara and ignorance and all that. So, that is very strong. And therefore, this ahankara, that mamakara, keeps the seeker preoccupied with the possessions, preoccupied with the surrounding, preoccupied with the near and dear ones, etc. So then he pays Pushan Ekarshe. Pushan word we have seen in the previous mantra. Poshayati Sarvam, who nourishes everything. By giving them energy to do what they are to do, and by being a substratum for all that is, that isness belong to that Brahman or Ishvara. Therefore, Hey Ishvara, Hey Paramatma, Ushan Ekarshe. What is that meaning of Ekarshe? Ekasya Rashati Gachati iti Ekarshe. One who, Rashati means Janati also. One who is non-dual and one who knows, which is beyond sense organ. Rishihi word meaning Rishanti Jananti Atindriya Vastu. Iti Rishi. One who knows which is beyond the comprehension of our sense organs. That they know. All knowers, they are the Rishaya. That Rishis. And he says, you are non-dual. And then you know everything. So here the Rishi word is in a sense of all knower. And Ekah means non-dual, all knower. Pushan Ekarshe. And then he says, Yamaha. Yamaha means Yamayati iti Yamaha. Nigraha karta. One who gives karma phala. One who has put the whole thing in niyama, in a system, in an order, that is called Yamaha. And that order is sustained all throughout, choicelessly. And that is because of that Ishvara, Swami, keeps the thing in order so that the system works in harmony. Therefore it says Yamaha, Karma Phaladata, Karma Adyaksha, Karma Niyanta, one who controls the karma. That Prajapatya means who is born out of Prajapati. It is a story and then it's okay. We don't get into the story part, but born out of Prajapati, son of Prajapati, or one who is very beloved to Prajapati. His father loved him very much because Surya does the work. And he says, Suryaha, Yamaha, Surya, one who sustains, one who accepts everything is Suryaha. And Prajapatyaha, what he says, Vyuha Rashmin Swan, Rashmin Samoha. Samoha means Eki Kuru. Just with those rays, please withdraw all those rays. Means the rays means glitter. Please withdraw, take away the glitter from my life. Glitter means that shines. Glitter means that attracts. As they say in English, all that glitters is not gold. So all that glitters in your mind is not happiness. Objects glitter, make you feel this will make me happy. This will make me complete, like this. Typical modern way of proposing. I'm told, I've never seen that, these modern guys and the boys and the girls. On the Valentine Day, they have to take only a red rose and propose. I love you. Will you marry me? And then before that, they say this sentence, I am incomplete without you. The incomplete fellow wants to complete himself with another incomplete fellow. How are the fellow and fellow going to be complete? Two finite numbers can never create infinity. So this fellow himself has a lot of heavy unconscious, and then she also comes with unconscious, and then they create problem not for themselves but for society also. Because then before some completion takes place, they have a children. So they may create a new generation which are double incomplete. So incomplete parampara goes on, all psychological problems they have. Anyway, coming back to this, Suryaha. Suryaha means what? Svikarnat Surya. One who takes everything into him. Water, the water also goes to him as though dries up. Because the earth has, scientifically now we can explain it, it has come back from the sun. And when that sun, the star, what we call sun is actually a star, turns into black hole, it gets sucked into back to the Surya. So Svikarnat Surya. There is a glitter about the world because I am incomplete. I love you is also a glitter. iPhone 12 is also a glitter. Tesla is also a glitter, Everything is a glitter. So that you take away means remove the delusion from my life. Delusion about sense objects giving me joy and happiness and completeness. Please remove that delusion. And ahankara is also glitter itself. Hiranmayana patrana. So remove that shine of ahankara. Shine of ahankara is likes and dislikes and notions and prejudices and all that. So you are Rashmin Samu, so that I can see the benign Swarup. That is you. Though we translate Kalyanam as benign, Kalyan is Kalyan, okay? That fullness, Swarupa, that is myself, I want to see that. And as though that fellow is seeing, or as though he is expressing his bhava, he says, Yosavasau Purusha Suhamasvi. Now I know I am that Purusha. I am that Kalyanatamam. I am that full, complete self. I see. The prayer is as though fulfilled. And then further, the disciple continues in the next mantra. Prayers, Anta Samaya prayer, prayer for the at the end. We shall look into them tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Namaste.